Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. Um, I'm Jean-Paul Hutt. I'm leading the data strategy consulting services in the region. I'm based in Belgium. I'm at Precisely for 2 years already. And before that, I had a long data journey as a consultant where I had the opportunity to meet Cedric at a certain moment. Cedric.
So my name is Cedric Charlier. I am a data and AI chapter lead at elia Group. elia Group is a company transporting electricity, but we will see that later.
So Precisely, I don't know if you know Precisely. That's a company. Precisely has been an acquisition of a lot of company, and the brand Precisely exists for more or less 5 years now. We are, in a nutshell, our mission is to make you trust your data, and you do it, and we do it by providing software like data governance software, data quality, data observability, etc. We are also providing data to enrich your data and to give context to your data. Can be very interesting in the age of AI. But we are also doing data strategy consulting to make sure that you will succeed in your data journey with our solution and our data.
So elia is a company transporting electricity, so from the producer of electricity to the consumer of electricity. Not really to the consumers exactly, we don't do the last mile, but you have distribution after us, to go to your home and to go to small industries. But what we do is crossing the borders and also the channel to generate electricity, to transport electricity to UK, to France, and to Germany. We are a group that is active in Belgium and in Germany.
So IDC has named the current period, the 2025-2026, as the AI pivot. Between the experimentation of data with a lot of noise about Gen AI, what can we do with that? Let's try it. Let's make some bugs, etc. And the fact that everybody understands that AI has to be part of the strategy now, and that it will be really, as they say, it will fuel your business tomorrow. And today we are in between, implementing some real use case, and you will see it at elia. Cedric will talk about it. Implementing some real use case, but not yet at scale. We will see later. So that's really the beginning of a journey somewhere. But the data journey at elia has started a long time ago. It was 8 years, Cedric, if I'm not mistaken. 8 years ago, the data journey of elia started. And Cedric was at the origin of this journey.
So it started with our CFO who had the great idea to say, we need to do more with data. And it was 8 years ago. And for once in the IT history, IT had anticipated that, and we were mostly ready to answer this question. And so what we did at that moment was just to educate people about what we can do with data, what does it mean, data management, what does it mean, master data, have difference with metadata, and so on. And we were ready to explain this. And it was the first phase of our long journey. It was about creating awareness, not just for the CXO level, but also for the whole company. After that, when we had explained what we can do, what are the benefits expected, and so on, we created the second part, the interest. And for that, we defined with the business use cases that were really interesting for them, that were creating values, and so on. And those use cases were based on data. And the next part is when you have a lot of business cases, you need to see which one should go first, which one is a prerequisite for another one, and so on. And it's where we build a data program. A data program is just a huge roadmap, and so on, where we see prerequisite, but also where you decide how much you will invest, and so on. But there was a point missing. We know what we need to do, but we didn't know how to do it. And that was the last part and the last mile. And it's where Jean-Paul joined us, in fact.
Yeah. So the CEO indeed say at a certain moment, we have to develop a data strategy. And then we look at each other saying, well, where do we start? How we will do that? That's a big question, of course. How we will leverage it. And we decided, for sure, we were convinced that data governance would be an important point, an important cornerstone, because there were a lot of silos at elia at that moment. There was a clear lack of ownership, lack of accountability of data. Everybody was, using data their own way, so data governance was very key. Problem is that data governance is very difficult to sell to business people and to say, okay, we will, our data strategy is to put in place a governance. No, it doesn't work. So we decided to present it as we will together make data fit for purpose. So we will always think about the purpose, about the business objective of what we do in data. And data governance is in the back kitchen, I would say. And that's the objective we have set, making data fit for purpose.
And what is important into making data fit for purpose is to remove any IT connotation. It must be related to the business. It must speak the business language, not the IT language. We need to stop to speak about databases. We need to stop to speak about tables and so on. We need to speak about data sets, and we don't care where it's located and so on. So we removed any IT connotation to this area. And the first point, when you need to measure if it's fit for purpose or not, you need to measure. And that's a key point. How do we measure that something is fit for purpose or not? And it's where we came with the idea that, in fact, we needed to do some data quality assessment. So we measure the quality of our data. And we measure based on what? Not based on what IT think is an important aspect, but on what the business really needs. So if we measure latency, we don't say, oh, but my ETL can run in 5 minutes and so on. No, we don't care about that. We care about how much latency do you need for this business use case? And it can be 1 minute, it can be 2 hours, it can be 10 days. It depends on the business case that you have in front of you. So the data quality is different for each business case, in fact.
So
related to that, what did we do? The first thing that we did is to build a glossary. A glossary is just something where you collect and you gather a maximum information about your business vocabulary, about the definitions and so on, and all the different rules. For this business use case, I need a latency of 1 minute. I need a completeness of 95%. That's some of the key things that we really extracted from the business. And that was something that was interesting. It brings some values, but not a lot at the end. Nobody will take a look every day to this business glossary. Even if it's impactful and so on, you can do better. And it's where we came with the data quality results, because it's good to say, to set some definition and say, we need 95%, but are we at 95 or not? And is it the case every day, or is it only the case during the weekend? And so on. So that's a lot of questions, and it's where we included also the data quality results to show to people what are really the value that we are today. Also to challenge them on their objective. If we are at 70% and they say we need 99% or 100%, perhaps we need to redefine or we need to stop this business use case. So it's a bit where we are. We can trigger discussions, and usually the business will tell you, I need 100%. It's not true. And you can also see that when we have different measure or exactly where we are today.
And back to making data fit for purpose, when you have this data quality result, you can make an impact analysis, and you can really see the impact of the data quality problems of this famous purpose. And that's where it becomes to bring value to business users, of course. And when you present it and then you ask them, how can we solve it? You have to understand where the data is coming from. And that's all about the lineage and the impact assessment. So lineage impact assessment were really 2 steps where we were bringing value to business. And having said we have the impact, we know the problem, okay. The idea was to enter a continuous improvement process where we identify the root cause of the problem, and we ask the people to act on processes, on application, on people, to be able to structurally improve the quality of the problem. Of course, presenting it makes sense. It's a common sense process that we were putting in place, but it was really considered as a big transformation, and it will be expensive. It was really what we heard from the people there. And that's
So typically, as Jean-Paul just explained, root cause analysis is generating some benefits on long term and mid term, but people want instant results. And also IT wants instant results, because if we explain that in 10 years it will be better, nobody will follow us. So we put into action also some data cleansing tasks. So just people fixing the data when they are wrong and so on, manually into Excel files, into applications and so on. Or even software that are fixing the data because we know that they have been delayed or so on into an IT system or delayed into a sensors and so on. So cleansing is around that. And we put a bit of that and a bit of root cause analysis and long-term investments. And there we have a shifting point. Because everything that we spoke at the moment was more...
Pivot.
Pivot, yes. We are pivoting, sorry. So the pivot is really the fact that AI was entering into the dance. And we have a lot of use cases about AI regarding that. And the first one is to forecast. Forecast what will be the consumption on the network in 15 minutes, in 2 minutes, in 2 hours, in 1 month. It really depends. Also, we have everything about asset predictive maintenance. That's a common use case in many industries, but where we are also really acting is to push and operate really at the limit. We have assets that are costly. We don't want to operate them over the limit, but we want to push really far to be sure that we don't need to extend the network when we can just push a bit further or different assets. And finally, the last cases that we have around AI are also about defects. We need to detect the defect. We have pylons everywhere in Belgium and Germany and so on. So we have drones and taking some pictures. We analyze the pictures and we see if the pylons have defects. That's the main idea. And it's really important because we also have sensors everywhere. And so we have a lot of data that we are gathering all together. And regarding that, if you really understand all our different use cases, you will see that they have something in common. Most of them need real-time data. We need the data that are happening right now. Not 5 years ago, not 2 days ago, but right now. We need those data as soon as possible and with the best quality ever. And one of the key problems is when we have invested into root cause analysis and long-term strategy to improve the data quality, it was okay. But when we took in the past some data cleansing initiative and so on, we had a problem because data cleansing is not happening in real time. It's always an operation that you do after the fact. So you don't have someone fixing data in front of a screen and you receive correctly those data into your inference model of AI. That's not happening. And that was one of the big problems because all our use cases were big success when we were in a proof of concept because we used cleansed data. But when we were going to production with real-time data, at that moment, yes, the completeness wasn't there and so on, and the model has not been trained with that kind of thing. So it was a big problem.
And that's where data observability can help you, because when you need to cope with real-time data, data observability will enable you to detect any change of behavior in your data, any drift, any problem that can happen in real time in your data, and alert AI about this problem. That's one part. That's one point. But it's also the fact that by observing your data, you will learn about your data. And this learning is, and this phenomenon is something that can augment your metadata, in fact. And the result of your data observability can enrich your metadata. And this metadata will be also used by AI, but will also be a trigger to come again in the data quality management process and to say, okay, I have new insight about my data and my data behavior and my data problems, so let's try to fix it correctly, meaning back to the root cause and finally do what we wanted to do from the beginning. And thanks to AI, thanks to data observability, we are back to this stage.
And really, regarding that in AI, what was really interesting is that we had all the different picture of the data. We know that after, when we capture the data, we have this information coming from this system and coming from this sensor. Then we see that later a software or human has changed its value. And we see that 2 days later, another value has been there. And we can put all those information into the training of our models. Even if during the inference, we don't know that someone will change the value in 2 days and so on, it's additional value that we can capture in our model and that we can already forecast that someone will be changing the value. But when the value is higher than 1,000, it's probably the wrong value, and we should not take that into account. So that's a lot of information that help us to bring more value into our AI model. And it's what has been bring for AI data observability.
So AI strategy without data strategy is just hype, meaning that you don't have anymore to sell data strategy as such, because AI will boost your data strategy because you will need it. And it's really the opportunity to put data governance not at the light, but in practice and make it happen finally, thanks to AI. And I think we should not miss this opportunity today.
So finally, if you really want to implement this kind of thing in your company, if you want to go further, what you need to really focus on, it's the data quality needs. You need to analyze the root cause. It's really important because real-time data is also really important. So please investigate the root cause. Take a look, what's going wrong. You can do it at any moment. As Jean-Paul explained, data observability is also a key element because we gather a lot of information about the change on the data and so on. So we can explain why the data are changing, and we can do the root cause analysis also at that moment. It's really important also to stress the fit for purpose. It's not needed for all use cases that you have the exact birth date of all people. No, sometimes for some use case, you need something that is more a range of years and so on. So it's really dependent on your use case. You cannot say that a data quality rule is valid for all of them. The next point, data observability, we already said it, it's really important because you have the whole historic. You can really understand where are your problems. You can also feed your different AI training models and so on, really important. And the last point is leverage metadata. We are speaking about data observability, and so, but what is really important is not just the different values that we have. It's also the impact, why it has been changed. Is it a human that is deciding that the value is not correct? Is it a software? If it's a software, which version of this software, and so on. That's a lot of metadata that you can gather and that you can help you to understand the root cause of all those issues.
Yeah, and a little more about Precisely, but data strategy consulting services, that's really what we do. Partner with our customer on the journey, on the data journey, get some lessons learned of this journey, integrated it in our framework, and certainly help our customer to change and to implement a new culture. So that's about data strategy consulting. Feel free to come and discuss with me on our booth. But again, maybe our differentiator, this is software, yes, but this is also data to enrich your data, to make your data contextual for AI usage, and data strategy consulting as a differentiator also. So thanks for your attention. I don't know if there are questions, and I don't know if we can hear your questions because, but anyway, if you want, feel free to come to our booth. It's the K90. It's just there beside. Thank you for your attention.